Welcome to Digging Up Dillinger. I'm your host, Joe Malillo. I'm back. Stuart Fillmore, Travis Thompson, and Todd Hiles, the new age Dillinger gang coming at you through your ears.
I love it.
It's another week here. This is episode 14, and we're happy to have you. We got a lot to go over, so we're gonna get right into it. Let's start right away with Travis and myself. We had the opportunity to go and celebrate the bicentennial for the town of Mooresville, hometown
Yes.
of John Dillinger, and
Yeah.
we got to meet some fans, Stuart and Todd. Too bad you guys didn't make it.
Yeah,
You sign
I really,
autographs?
and I think Mooresville is a great town. For those out there that have never been, you need to go. It's a great town.
They did a great job. The library
Yep.
has a whole section on Dillinger. And when Travis and Mike showed up, it was like rock stars walked into the building.
Did they sign autographs?
I don't know. Did you
No.
sign any autographs?
No, we didn't. We had a lot of discussions after with fans. But that was the first time I had not been asked to sign something. So
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely saw about 75 people there, and then we went live on TikTok as well. So we had about 250 viewers on our TikTok while we were live. I had some people paying attention, and they said absolutely they could hear us on TikTok. They asked a bunch of questions on TikTok, and then we were obviously fielding questions at the library. It was open forum, guys. I mean, Stuart
yeah.
and Todd. It was
Yeah.
like we
Wow.
didn't have anything planned, but
Okay.
everything went well.
Did you bring
Yeah.
any artifacts with you or anything like that to show?
No, we didn't do any of that. We just sat there and talked. We sat down. We kind of made it informal, more comfortable setting for everybody. And I was very appreciated. I was very surprised about how many people. They just kept people coming in. They kept
We're
bringing up
standing in the
chairs up.
back.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I mean, there wasn't an empty seat in the house. People were sitting on the floor. It was pretty amazing.
That's really
Kids
cool.
were running around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the questions they asked?
A lot of them, asked if we really believed it was him that was killed in July 22nd. They asked about like where the money was. What was surprising, how many people didn't know about the map.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I brought that up. I was like, who here has any questions about the map? And I figured it'd be, a bunch, right?
Sure.
And they were all kind of looking at each other like, what are you talking about? So we had a little bit of educating, and
Yeah.
we talked about the FBI showing up at Crown Hill and why we believe that it could not be John. And then the room kind of was like, oh, the FBI's involved. Maybe there's something to this. And then we started getting a lot of questions. It was like, one, then it's like a lot of hands showing up. It was amazing. I enjoyed the crowd showing up. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I like to do that again.
Yeah, they did a great job. The library did a great job. Mike, your dad, does a great job telling a story. And then
Yes.
the questions were really great. I would say the three highlights from the entire thing were when our feet got held to the fire, where all of a sudden somebody said, "Do you believe that he's in there? Yes or no?" And we were like, Mike went first, and he's like, I believe that they moved him. I'll let Mike tell his own story, but Mike believed that they moved him away from the grave that we all think he's in, and that he's somewhere else, whether he's on the family farm or he's in Crown Hill somewhere, and he's not in that grave, but he doesn't believe that he escaped. He believed that his body was just moved. Travis, you obviously, we've talked about you, but go ahead. I mean, you were held to the fire, and you handled that fan pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I straight told him. Growing up, I kind of believed it was him, and then getting into law enforcement and look at the evidence that Stuart put together for us. Now I believe it's not him in the ground. And we also brought up about the acid being possibly poured in on the casket as well. And that got some questions as well. People are like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Yeah, where did that come from?
Yep.
And then me, of course, I don't believe he's in there, only because I want us to dig it up. It's hey, it's fun. The other part was some of the fans. One of the fans that was there, one of the visitors, he was part of Crown Hill. He said he worked for Crown Hill Cemetery.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
he had very specific questions. He was one of the guys who didn't hear that acid story before, or he did and was confirming it. But overall, the experience to be able to celebrate, it's a month long, or I think it's a year long celebration of Mooresville's 200th bicentennial, and to be there, have a bunch of people who are Dillinger, advanced Dillinger. I asked everybody. I said, "Hey, who in this room doesn't know who John Dillinger is?" In case somebody wandered in wanting to learn about him. And nobody raised their hand. It was advanced Dillinger. It was they were our
Yes.
listeners for sure.
That's great. That's great.
It was amazing, the response. I mean, people were very respectful. It was a great atmosphere. Everyone was eager to learn, and especially when we started diving into stuff maybe they didn't hear or know that was going on, they really got excited.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that more people are not aware of the map. When we found that, Travis, we thought, man, we found like the Rosetta Stone here. This is so,
Oh, yeah.
and then we had to sit on it for maybe a year or so, 2 years, trying to get a TV show out of it, and that didn't happen. And then there was the local news did a story on it, and then Expedition Unknown saw that local news report, and that's how we got on Expedition Unknown. And then after that, it just kind of fizzled. To me, it is just it's a piece of history that is unsolved, that has never been seen before. There's so many things about it that are just so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really sad that more people aren't aware of it.
Yeah. So I told the audience, I'm like, watch the episode Expedition Unknown, Dillinger's Lost Loot, and then come over to the podcast because we'll hit, on the map on the episode, but in our investigation, we're going to do more of an in-depth dive.
Yep.
And so now people are like, they're like, what episode? Now, hopefully, we'll now get more viewers.
Yeah.
Map.
Right.
Hey, and just take a second. You skimmed over that. You said that we sat on it for 2 years, but explain to some listeners why.
So we were under an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, to not talk about it because obviously, they wanted to reveal it on the show. It's an exclusive thing that they wanted to reveal, and I get that completely. And in the process of trying to sell a TV show to various networks takes a little bit of time. So it was all, understandable. And just unfortunately, as we've talked about before, the networks that it was pitched to thought the damn thing was fake, and just thought, just blew it off really.
It's not fake. We have
it's not fake.
You can look at it.
It's not fake.
We can look at it. It's unbelievable. It's
really
once in a lifetime. I mean, you can't win. You can't go to the casino and win a $10,000 bet like that. Like the chances, you have more chance to do that a couple of times before what you guys found. It's unbelievable.
It's a once, it's a 1 in 10 zillion thing. It's so unique and so cool. And it's still to this day is a shame that this thing is not fully being, investigated and analyzed.
So rank it: being an FBI agent, marrying your wife, drinking that tequila,
kids being born.
Man, you're putting me on the spot.
Kids being born, and finding that map. Where does it rank on?
Wow,
hey, I'll just say this:
it's somewhere in that mix.
The weekend that he found the map, he drove back to Texas, straight to Texas, and we had dinner that night.
Yeah,
and he was all just so excited, but couldn't tell us.
Yeah, I didn't tell. No,
he wouldn't tell.
I was true to that. To that agreement. Because I thought this would be a worldwide event. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, you guys had me sign an NDA too.
Yeah.
Because I was working with you guys a little bit, trying to talk about this stuff with you. But who knew? Who knew? What a cool event.
I figured we'd be on all the talk shows, the late night talk shows. I figured we'd be like so busy doing interviews and doing TV stuff, and then nothing. Like,
it's like the TV networks were so underwhelmed by it. It was amazing, and probably whoever heard the pitch about it probably didn't even know who Dillinger was, and just said,
If you're listening, to this podcast, and please comment on our Facebook, on our TikTok, and on our YouTube how much you think is it. Are we just biased because we're right next to it? You know what I'm saying? It looks bigger
Yeah.
because we're closer to it. But in the end, is it really that interesting? Because I can also see the perspective that it might not be as interesting because it doesn't really show anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cool that we found some old map, which, was buried. It's like buried treasure, which is cool. But if the buried treasure is wooden coins, who cares? As opposed to gold coins,
right?
If we found it. So I don't know. I could see both sides of it, but also, we got to find something. That's really what it comes down to. When we find something using the map, then it becomes real worldwide news.
We need to take our show on the road and start investigating.
I know.
Road
I
trip.
know.
Yeah.
Shell, if you're listening, here we are. It's a great sponsorship here. Gas prices are starting to go down. The election is coming. Well, not really, but but we had a really good time. We wanted to share that with y'all. Follow us on TikTok because we go live, and we're starting to go live. And that was a great time to go live. And shout out to the town of Mooresville. You guys, Todd sent me something, and
oh wow, okay.
it's an article, and Todd and I have been kind of keeping this from Stuart and Travis. We've been keeping secrets from you guys.
Oh man,
dirty dogs.
I'm heartbroken.
We've been communicating on the side here, and Todd didn't know if you guys have seen this article, have heard about this article, but we're gonna read it anyway, and we're gonna see your reactions to this live here because you guys haven't ever seen it. It's a little grainy. I am going to share it for those of you watching on YouTube. And Todd, do you remember the date? It says
it was a 25th anniversary.
25th anniversary.
25th
so
anniversary.
19th July 19th, 1959. That's what the article says. Okay? All right, I'm going to share it. I'm going to share the screen so you guys can see it too. Right, Todd? Is that what you want me to do?
That's perfect.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's see. This is the hardest thing because I'm live producing it here. Oh man!
And I grabbed this from the FBI file.
You grabbed this from the FBI file. Perfect.
Yes.
Who really shot Dillinger on the 25th anniversary of our most notorious gangster's death? Ex-FBI agent Melvin Purvis reveals the story never before divulged. He's a now lawyer. So 5 shots rang out. 5 shots caught him, and he clawed for his pistol, and that's how Dillinger died. One of the shots was mine. That's a pretty hard opening there. 25 years ago, next Wednesday, shortly before 11 p.m. on the night of July 22nd, 1934, John Dillinger's America's most vicious criminal was gunned down to death in the alley next to the old Biograph movie house in Chicago by federal and local agents led by me. Even today, there are mysterious surroundings the death of Dillinger. Few people really know, for instance, the names of the officers who shot him. Of course, I know. I was there. Then there was the woman in the red, Miss Anna Sage, the bawdy house madam who fingered Dillinger. What was her reason for turning stool pigeon? Over the next years, there have been more half-truths and pure fiction written about Dillinger's last hours than possibly about any other criminal. This is how it really was. So this is Melvin Purvis's words in this article. This right here.
Well, hold on, let me stop you right there. And Stuart, we know Melvin Purvis was there, right?
Melvin Purvis was there without a doubt. Yes.
Right. And because he was in charge of the Chicago field office.
Correct.
But wasn't an inspector actually in charge of...
So at the time, J. Edgar Hoover, Melvin Purvis had fallen out of favor with J. Edgar Hoover because Purvis had received so much publicity because of the Dillinger case. And Hoover did not want anyone getting more spotlight than he did. So he had actually effectively demoted Purvis by placing an inspector, and his name was Sam Cowley, in the Chicago office. So Cowley technically outranked Purvis. So Cowley was really calling the shots. So it's correct to say that Purvis was the head of the Chicago office, but really there was a higher ranking supervisor there over Purvis at the time.
Thank you for that interjection. Mm-hmm. Way to go, guys. Todd, great job. Love it. By July of 1934, our agents were receiving reports that Dillinger was in Chicago. At the time, I was a special agent in charge of Chicago office of the Department of Justice's Division of Investigation, which was the forerunner of the FBI. On July 21st, Sergeant Martin Zarkovich of the East Chicago, Indiana police reported that he had a hot tip on Dillinger's whereabouts. The criminal and his girlfriend, Polly Hamilton, were in the habit of making frequent visits to Anna Sage's apartment in East Chicago. The informant, Mrs. Sage herself. On the afternoon of July 22nd, a Sunday, I received word from Mrs. Sage that Dillinger was planning to take her and Polly Hamilton to the movie that night. She didn't know, however, if they were going to be at the Marlboro Theater on the west side or the Biograph Theater at 2344 North Lincoln Avenue. We made our plans for either theater, but it was the Biograph, the feature film Manhattan melodrama, a gangster thriller starring Clark Gable, William Powell, and Marin Loy. 27 federal and local agents, including myself and Zarkovich, were staked out near the theater. How were we to recognize Dillinger? We had never seen him face to face. We had his photograph, and Mrs. Sage was to wear a red dress. It was up to me to make the identification. This is a great article, Todd.
It really is.
Around 8:30 p.m., I saw a man approach the marquee with two women, one of them the woman in red. The man was coatless. He sported a small mustache and he wore gold-rimmed dark glasses and a straw hat and a white shirt. Having committed countless photos of Dillinger to memory, I took a long, hard look. Yes, the man was Dillinger. The deadly killer calmly purchased 3 tickets. Admission price was just 30 cents each, and entered the movie house with Mrs. Sage and Polly Hamilton. We had originally planned to take Dillinger by surprise inside the theater. The idea was to take a seat behind him, pin his arms to capture him without raising a fuss. But the closest seat I could get was 3 rows away. The movie was packed, and we decided to take him on the way out. So all of us waited and waited. It was the longest 2 hours and 4 minutes in my life. My knees kept hitting together the whole time, and I had a double hitch in my stomach. The movie was over at 10:34 p.m., and out came Dillinger, escorting the women. I waited under the marquee, for I had the responsibility of making the identification. And when I was absolutely certain that the man was John Dillinger, I lighted a cigar. There I was nonchalantly puffing on a stogie as the gunman and his party strolled right in front of me and headed south on Lincoln Avenue. The cigar was the signal of identification. When I struck the match, it signaled that I took full responsibility that the man under observation was Dillinger and that we should take him. As Dillinger moved away, I gave a second signal. It was the wide sweep of the arm. Anyone who saw it would know it meant, let's close in. We had previously arranged that the other agents would run if I ran, walk if I walked, etc., in the way that we would all get to Dillinger at the same time. No one wanted to win that race to get Dillinger first and alone. No one wanted to win that race and get to Dillinger first and alone. So I moved in from behind. Other agents sauntered out of the doorway. Another came up on Dillinger's right. The bunters moved in closer. Suddenly, an agent barked, "Stick 'em up, Johnny, and we have you surrounded." Dillinger whirled, I can't read, it's like blurry, gave one haunted look at him, and then made a dash for freedom down the alley, drawing his automatic pistol as he ran. 5 shots rang out. 5 caught him as he clawed for his pistol. That's how Dillinger died. Who killed Dillinger? Officially, yeah. No one knows. The men who were there, and I were one of them, made a pact never to reveal who actually fired the shot and killed him. Now, a quarter of a century later, the pact is still binding. I have been credited with the capture for him. I have been credited with killing him, and and all I have ever said is that I led the group that captured Dillinger. That's what I stand on. After all, does it really matter that much who killed him? End of article.
Okay. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a good find, Todd.
Yeah.
Because I've been through that Dillinger file, and uh, if I've read that before, I did not remember it. So that's a really good find.
So
I
this
like that
article
they-
was by Melvin Purvis, but as told by Jim Connors or Connolly, somebody from the newspaper or the
Okay.
CBS News. Sorry,
And
go
this
ahead,
was-
Travis.
I was going to say this was actually in Purvis's file at the FBI. It's not
okay.
in the Dillinger file.
Oh.
Okay.
So,
All
Okay.
right.
So yeah,
Wow.
so that's
Cool.
why it's in there. And so when I read that, and the first thing that stood out, he says that he took one of the shots, but I always thought that Purvis never fired.
No, he didn't. So in the Dillinger file, there in a very detailed report about the shooting, they named that it was Clarence Hurt and Charles Winstead were the two agents that fired the shots.
In the FBI files?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
And I mean, and at the time, obviously, that wasn't public, so that fits with what Purvis is saying in '59. Joe, can you pull that back up just real quick?
Sure.
I wanted to point something out for folks.
Please. Yeah. Hold on.
So this J. Edgar Hoover followed the media very closely. He was always trying to get very positive, media attention for the FBI. And so obviously this is, this would have been a media report. It makes sense that they would throw it in a file. Go back up to the top where
Yep.
at the very first page. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in just a little bit?
Where? Which part?
To the right. Okay. If you see the writer's picture there,
Yeah.
just to the right, what does
Yeah.
that say? I can't quite read it. I know whose handwriting that is, though.
It
Then
says
If
Carolyn's picture or Count.
Cowley's picture. No.
Maybe it's Connolly's picture or the Jim guy.
okay, if
Yeah, go ahead.
if we could see the original version or the original document in the file, I promise you that would be in blue ink because that is the handwriting of J. Edgar Hoover. And at the time, J. Edgar Hoover was the only one in the FBI allowed to write in blue ink because, people had to do whatever he said, and that was one of his rules. And if you saw something with blue ink on it, you knew it was from the director.
And so the names up at the top right are probably
Those are
directors that got copies of this.
Correct. That's how the document would have been routed to various
because there's
people.
Tolson. There's Tolson's name up
Exactly.
there, and
Yeah,
That's cool.
Tolson being Hoover's second in command and possible homosexual lover.
What?
So,
Really?
So they vacation together. They ate lunch together every day. They rode to work together every day. Neither one ever married. I think at this point it's safe to say that was a homosexual relationship.
And then New York Mirror is the publication. It looks like.
Okay.
I mean, that's my guess from the. What would you
I
say?
think that is. Yeah.
Okay. Now, another interesting thing about this is 1959. So two things. 1959 was the same year that the gentleman had sent his picture into the Indianapolis Star claiming to be Dillinger. I don't know how much publicity that received at the time. And then just a year later, in 1960, Purvis mysteriously dies. I think officially it's considered a suicide, but there are those that claim, and I think if I'm not mistaken, including Purvis's own son, that claims that it was not a suicide. But with this article, Purvis is definitely telling the bureau line, the official line on the story. So there's no indication of why he would have committed suicide a year later.
What I tell you, what I like about it is in his own words, he stated none of them have ever seen John face to face. And they're trying to look at a picture in a very dim lit area
Agreed. Yeah, agreed, Travis.
Well, he's not looking. He's not looking at a picture. He's has a picture in his memory.
in his memory.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So
he's
we're
not out there
talking,
holding a
and we're
photograph.
talking at this point. Dillinger has known to have had plastic surgery. Okay, so
Yeah,
his,
but we also think the plastic surgery didn't do anything too.
it didn't change it drastically, but he he clearly was trying to change his appearance. Now, the other thing that plays into this story that's very, very interesting is he acknowledges that he got a call that Sunday from Martin Zarkovich of the East Chicago, Indiana Police Department. Now, Zarkovich was a corrupt officer who had an extramarital affair going with Anna Sage going back to the 1920s, and he had actually protected her prostitution activities in East Chicago. And at some point, I think it was so bad that he couldn't protect her anymore, and that's why she had ended up moving to Chicago. But Zarkovich still had the relationship going with her, and there are indications from Dillinger's attorney's investigator, Art O'Leary, that Zarkovich had protected Dillinger almost from the day that Dillinger started doing the bank robberies in East Chicago. In the early days of the Dillinger gang, they hit a number of banks and very successfully escaped successfully. No one knew where they were, and it's all because they were being protected by Zarkovich in East Chicago. So at some point, Zarkovich turns Dillinger in, to get the reward money. I forget exactly what the reward money was, how much it was, but it was for 1934. It was a pretty significant amount. But there are some. It could be speculated that they had found some guy that looked enough like Dillinger that they had put in with Zarkovich's girlfriend, Anna Sage, and set this poor Patsy up, to be executed by the FBI, and then Dillinger gets away. I think it's not necessarily an implausible scenario, especially knowing that we know all the problems with the identification of the body that was on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they walked. He was in the middle of both women.
Yep.
The autopsy said he had a heart condition. That what we've done, that he was being helped in and helped out if he wasn't able to walk like a normal healthy male would have done.
Yeah, good point.
So maybe when he went to take off running, he couldn't and stumbled.
Yep.
What
Did Dillinger wear glasses?
So
sunglasses.
Yeah, but again, that kind of fits, I guess, a little bit. That kind of tends to make you think that it was Dillinger because this is at night. This is like 9 o'clock at night when this movie starts. And Dillinger's wearing the was it 8 o'clock? But nonetheless, when he comes out of the theater, he's wearing these dark sunglasses, so he doesn't want to be seen.
Are they sunglasses or are they glasses?
Well, they're just dark tinted glasses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can see them.
I think the article says gold rimmed glasses.
Yeah, they say gold rim.
I thought it says gold rimmed dark glasses.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, check me on that, Joe. I want to be accurate.
Well,
but I've seen pictures
of him. He wore gold rimmed dark glasses, a straw hat, and a white shirt.
Right.
So sunglasses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm calling them sunglasses, but
hey, and I'll be honest. I randomly saw an article the other day. I think it was August. I think like 2 days ago. So August 10th. So right, like only a couple of weeks after the sunset with the last 7 p.m. sunset in Chicago. I saw it in the Chicago Times. Like people were celebrating the last 7 p.m. sunset before, or 8 p.m. 8 p.m.
Okay.
Sunset.
Yeah. Right.
On Central Time because in Indianapolis where we live, the sun is up really, really long, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm 10:15 at night and I can still see daylight out my window because we are in the westernmost part of the time zone, and Chicago's one of the most eastern Central Time cities. And so let's just do the math here. A couple weeks prior, 8 p.m., it's an 8 p.m. start. Wearing sunglasses isn't out of control. I mean, in the summer, in my opinion.
Yeah. But coming out of the movies at 10:30, though.
Coming out, that's
coming
weird.
out at 10:30.
Yeah, weird. A little different.
And I mean, if Zarkovich was involved and a friend of his, and they set this up, John could have gave some articles of his that he was known to wear.
Exactly.
The
Yep.
machine guns were left there. It seems kind of like a lot of it was staged.
Yep. Exactly. Because on the other hand, like I said, maybe, wearing dark glasses, tends to make you think that maybe it was Dillinger. He didn't want to be recognized. On the other hand, if they're, if Sage and Zarkovich are in on this to set up some guy, they might have convinced him to wear these glasses somehow so that, the FBI would see, that I don't think that's him, because they definitely had different color eyes. The
Yes.
the body on the table had brown eyes. Dillinger had these vivid, sparkling gray eyes. So there's a lot of problems with this. The other thing too is after Dillinger was killed, the state in the Indiana State Police investigator Matt Leach went to the FBI and tried to say all these problems with Zarkovich. This guy's corrupt. This whole deal stinks. You really can't take this at face value. You guys need to look into this further. And then from there, J. Edgar Hoover did everything he could to discredit Matt Leach. And so, it's all these things taken in context that really, make you wonder really what went on.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And I would like to have known if Purvis was in the room when my great grandfather went to identify the body. I wonder if he was there, because I never heard that. I've never known which agents were there to meet the family.
yeah. I don't know, Travis. From my memory of reviewing that whole Dillinger file, I don't remember anything being listed about who might have been there when the body was identified.
Now,
Of
what I
course,
mean,
of course, they were. I mean, their whole focus was that he'd been identified through the fingerprints. I don't think they really cared much whether his father had identified him or not.
would Hoover? I mean, would Hoover have been worried about a family member coming up and saying something different?
Possibly, but they're going to say, "Oh no, he's been identified through the fingerprints," and I'm telling you, I forget. I think I put it in the report that it within a very very short time they had announced that this was him. The fingerprints confirm it, but in 1934, you didn't have computer analysis of these fingerprints, so it would have been done by hand. And again, that's the thing that I find troubling is that there is no report detailing who did that analysis, who actually compared the points of identification on those fingerprints and what those points of identification were. That is not detailed anywhere in the FBI file. It's just basically a blanket statement. The fingerprints match. It's him. Case closed.
And they're still going with that story today.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of odd. If they built their case and they're very proud of that, wouldn't you have
Absolutely.
went into very good detail?
Right. And Hoover built his, part of, the reputation that he built was that, the FBI is thorough. They document, they detail everything, and I know for a fact that was stressed in the reports that we submitted. They wanted, we had to be detailed in what we had done and seen and heard and, and all that stuff.
Yeah, one of the
So,
audience members at the library had brought up, like, with a hot day, it's just another person that was killed. They just rushed through it. Maybe they had multiple people that died of heat stroke, and I'm like, this would have been
nah.
taking priority over everything else. I mean, the
Exactly.
FBI would have been there. They would have
Yep.
been pushing through it, made sure it's done 100% right and
Oh, yeah.
documented. And then it looks like an extremely botched job and sloppy that I wouldn't expected from the way the FBI was presented to the public and being very professional and thorough. And
Exactly. Yep.
This was great. This is a really good find, Todd. I really enjoyed
yes,
this.
Yeah, it's awesome,
Yes,
Todd.
I
Good
love it.
work. Good work,
Yeah.
dude. I love it.
What was the quote on that last page? What they said when we got you surrounded? What did they call it? What did they say?
Stick them up, Johnny. We have you surrounded.
Yeah.
Man,
Is
they could
that-
have come up with a better line than that. Stick 'em up, Johnny. We have you surrounded. Stick 'em up, Johnny.
What do you think about these pictures too? These look like old pictures.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to make out.
Yeah, you can't see
I've
them.
looked at a lot of those old pictures around the biograph at the time.
Man, if we could just find one of those handkerchiefs someone dipped the blood into, that would be.
Yep.
I really wish my grandmother would never have burned the shirt, but I understand why she
Yeah,
did.
and I wish my mom
absolutely,
never
yeah.
threw away my Pokemon cards, but here we are.
Joe, that's a little different. It's a little
Yeah,
different.
it is. It's a lot. We really appreciate you guys listening. These episodes are really fun for us. We obviously are doing the research. We're going to bring you as much of the research. Stay tuned as we continue on the journey, as we keep digging, because this is a passion for us.
Yes.
But we're also human. We have a lot of stuff going on in our personal lives. I am, by the time this episode airs, I will have a new baby. My wife will be giving birth very soon. We are literally counting down the days for when the baby comes out. I'm half expecting it to come any day now, literally. Travis has stuff going on in his life. You guys, obviously, Stuart and Todd, you guys obviously have a lot of your, well, actually, Stuart, you don't even do anything, do you? I mean, you play
Well,
tennis.
I will.
He plays
I
tennis.
will. I will admit this. A minute ago, when you said, "Hey, it's on August 10th," 2 days ago, I actually had to look at my phone to see because I didn't know what date it was today.
We're in the month of August, Stuart. We're in the month
Must
of
be
August.
nice. Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice.
Every day, every moment of my day is planned. So you enjoy your tennis Tuesdays there, retired FBI agent Stuart Fillmore.
Yep.
If you don't know, I don't think we talked about this a lot, but go listen to Back in Crime. It's the podcast for
Yes.
our buddies Todd and Stuart. So please, the Texas Crime Travelers, you guys got enough followers on TikTok. You need more followers on your podcast.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
So what's
We
an
talked about some
episode
great
that you are
cases.
doing? What's the latest episode?
The one that we just finished up and just got released was the Phantom Murders from Texarkana.
Perfect. And
That's
if you don't
based on
know about it,
that's based on the 1976 movie, The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
there you go.
Unsolved murders.
Yeah, and the TikToks are great too. You guys do a great job. And obviously, you've probably, if you're listening to this, you've probably seen both of y'all pop up on your TikTok on the For You page. I have so many people tell me, "Oh my God, I know that guy." You know that guy? And I'm like, he's not that cool, but
Yeah.
he does a great job walking and talking. Any last words for this episode before we end it?
No, but
No.
we want your insights, your questions, your comments, because
Yes.
again, sometimes there's just things that come in that like we haven't even thought of, and that's like just brilliant. So we want to hear that stuff.
Please comment, share, like, subscribe, and as always, keep digging.
Keep digging.
Yep.
We'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned.
See ya.